Gender is weird, right? From the time we wake up in the morning to the time we go to bed at night, we're fed hundreds of messages about the way we should be performing our gender through the media we consume. Before we even jump into a discussion about gender, I want to show you some clips from different pieces of media where gender is a topic of discussion.
Mr. I'll make a man out of you.
But drag is about really making fun of identity. It's a lot of times, like myself, little boys who didn't fit in here, didn't fit in there, and then once we thought, I'm smart, I can figure this out, I'm gonna fit in somehow. Once I studied the way society is and how people put on these roles, I realized it was all a game. It's all an illusion. So
how bad a girl can you be?
Bad.
You know what? I look fat.
No man can kill me.
I am no man.
Spanish been saying how you still got your dick. That true?
What you got between your legs is your business, and what I got is mine.
Maybe. But my man is out at Lexington, and he's having a real hard time. Hard. Meanwhile, you hiding out in here, pretending to be a female.
Get the fuck out of my house.
Not till we see it. Fuck you, female!
It is literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Like, we have to always be extraordinary. But somehow we're always doing it wrong.
Hey everyone, I'm Ashley. I'm currently pursuing my master's in social justice education at the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education. My time in this program has really opened my eyes to the intersectionality of race, gender, and sexuality, and it's changed the way I view the media I consume. To kick off today's discussion about gender in media, I think there's no one better to hear from than Judith Butler. This is a clip from a YouTube channel called Big Think, where they are discussing their gender theory.
You know, in my view, everybody has a theory of gender. And what I mean by that is that everybody has certain assumptions going about what gender is or should be. And at a certain point in life, we ask ourselves, wow, where did that assumption come from? At this point, I'm less concerned about whose theory is right and whose theory is wrong, because the assault on gender is also an assault on democracy. We have the power and the freedom to make more livable lives for ourselves, where bodies can be more free to breathe, to move, to love without discrimination and without fear of violence.
Our gender is assigned to us before we even take our first breath, with gender reveal parties and themed nurseries being created before a baby's even born. From then on, thousands of decisions are made connected to gender, including what clothes you'll wear, what sports you'll play or not play, who you'll be friends with, and the list goes on. As we go through life, we consume so much media, from looking at magazine covers in the grocery store line, to watching blockbuster films, and just seeing our friends' Instagram stories. And throughout this media, gender stereotypes are fed to us over and over. I wanted to see how gender was being discussed in schools today, so I looked up the Ontario's Human Development and Sexual Health Education by Grade document, where the word gender only appears 3 times. In grade 6, students learn about how stereotypes and assumptions about gender, race, sexual orientation, ethnicity, culture, and abilities can affect how a person feels about themselves, their feelings of belonging, and relationships with others. And in grade 8, they go on to learn about gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation, and to identify factors that can help all young people develop positive personal identities. I understand that this topic is discussed at large throughout daily life, but I'm not sure if this is enough time specifically dedicated to critically think about gender in schools. But I wanted to hear what others thought about gender representation in their childhood, so I reached out to my online community to ask if they felt like they were represented in the media they consumed when they were growing up, and how that might have affected the way that they present themselves today. What I got was a lot of the same answers though, and some were more sarcastic than others. Quote, as a white blonde girl, I definitely felt represented. I'd be happy to provide you with my thoughts on why I don't see enough white males in media. I'm a white cis chick, where wasn't I represented? And as a white man, I saw myself represented just about everywhere and never really thought twice about it. This showed me that discussions of gender representation aren't really happening on their own, as most of these responses included race, gender, and sexuality as one part of someone's identity. But I did get a thoughtful response from my amazing friend Arashana, so let's hear what she had to say.
Watching news segments and political debates and reality TV shows has significantly influenced how I present myself. So seeing women confidently speak up for themselves and tackle challenging situations has given me the courage to stand up for my beliefs and advocate for myself in both personal and professional settings. These media representations have shown me the power of resilience and self-expressions, inspiring me to be more assertive and confident in my everyday life.
I appreciate that the representation of powerful women in today's media has helped her feel more in tune with her womanhood. And speaking of connecting with your womanhood, a few days ago I listened to the So True podcast with Caleb Heron. His guest, Nori Reed, is an accomplished comedian, actress, writer, and trans woman. I was using this podcast as sort of a break to get away from writing this script, but they broke out into a conversation about gender stereotypes and presentation that I just had to include.
Can I ask you, what does being a man feel like?
It's awesome. Nori, it's amazing.
Oh my God.
I would never recommend it to you, but for me, it's been just beautiful.
That's because I literally, when I think, you know what's funny? I don't really think about being trans ever. Like, I don't think about it or like reflect on it. I don't really reflect. But I've never felt, I don't know what it feels like. Because even when I was like,
because you're a woman.
Yeah, like before transitioning, I never felt like, but one of my earliest memories is, well, not earliest, but the boys in my neighborhood would play baseball, and I would just watch. I would participate, but I would hate it, so I'd kind of just stand to the side, and I would just watch them and be like, "What's that? What is that?" I just didn't understand. But I guess women can play baseball.
So that's where it all gets really complicated, right? Is gender so complicated? But the way that you innately, you can't really place it, right? Like even right there where you're saying, I didn't relate to baseball, so I felt like I was a woman. Or if you're like, oh, I loved wearing dresses, I felt like a woman. Those things we know now because gender is so complicated, they don't necessarily mean that. But there's something innate in you that correctly knows you're a woman.
But the boys were they were high-fiving.
Yeah.
And they were getting dirty and really liking getting dirty. And I was just very the high fives and I just couldn't even
high five made you trans.
It. Well, not wanting to high five.
Yeah.
I think I kind of went a really far. I think I took things really far because I just don't want to high five.
Yeah.
This clip really gets into the idea of performing gender, where Nori talks about avoiding more masculine activities like baseball and high fives, even though she acknowledges that obviously women can play baseball and enjoy high fives and still be women. Finally, I can't wrap this video up without acknowledging that gender is not a binary. There isn't one or the other, there's a spectrum. My friend known online as the True Salt King, or Salty, recently posted a video titled Important Life Update, where they talked about being gender fluid and what that means to them. Salty gave me permission to share clips from this video, and I'm honored to be able to include them here. It is so important to me to include new media when I'm discussing gender representation in media, so who better to include in this video than a Twitch streamer and YouTuber who recently came out during this past Pride Month.
I would like to take this moment to say hi. Once again, my name is Salt, and I am gender fluid. I'm not one gender, I am not a gender, I am somewhere in the non-binary, I'm somewhere in between, and maybe all of them at once or none of them. So let's start with the basics. Non-binary, gender fluid, what does that even mean? Well, it's different for everyone. First of all, it's okay if these identities are new to you, whether you're queer or not. So let's learn. So non-binary is a gender identity that sits outside of man or woman, male or female. It sits in between that 0 and 1 binary. A lot of modern Western society deems gender as a binary, 0, 1, this or that, male or female. But that's not true. Gender is in fact a spectrum and always has been. Many cultures today and many throughout history have had gender identities that exist outside of male and female. And how about gender fluid? Well, that usually means a non-fixed gender identity that shifts over time or depending on situations. For me, personally, as I said, there are days when I don't really feel like a guy at all, let alone a man, you know? And there are other days where I feel extremely feminine. I feel really, really embraced by feminine identity. And then there are days when I'm kind of indifferent.
I knew I wouldn't be able to tackle this topic on my own, so I am so grateful to Salty for letting me share these clips. I will be including their links down in the description below, so please go give them some love. Even after this whole discussion, gender's still weird, right? Theories and interviews can only take us so far, but it's really different for every single person in practice. I'm definitely not immune to this either. I even have my pets perform their gender, with my dog wearing a blue collar and my cat wearing a pink one. Am I just mentioning this as an excuse to include photos of my pets in this video? Possibly. So what's the solution? I believe continued teaching of critical media literacy is a great place to start. Critical media literacy helps us understand the media we consume by critically analyzing the author, medium, message, and goals of the media. Understanding our media consumption is crucial because, as Kellner and Scher say in their 2019 paper, media representation helps construct our images and understanding of the world. Positive media representation can enhance our understanding of intersectional identities, while negative representation can perpetuate prejudice and misinformation. I have a clip here of Stuart Hall discussing his representation theory, which might help you understand.
It does mean to present, to image, to depict, to offer a depiction of something else. And the word representation or representation does sort of carry with it the notion that something was there already and through the media has been represented. Nevertheless, this notion that somehow representation represents a meaning which is already there is a very common idea, and on the other hand, one of the ideas that I'm going to try to subvert. But then there's another understanding of the word representation which also plays a role in what we bring to this topic, because we speak of political figures as representing us in some way. They stand in for us. They are our representatives. Where we can't be, they can be. So the notion of something which images and depicts and that which stands in for something else, both of those ideas are kind of brought together in the notion of representation. Now, what this idea that media practices, among other things, represent topics, represent types of people, represent events, represent situations. What we're talking about is the fact that in the notion of representation is the idea of giving meaning. So the representation is the way in which meaning is somehow given to the things which are depicted through the images or whatever it is on screens or the words on a page which stand for what we're talking about. And if you think that the meaning that it is giving is very different from, or a kind of distortion of what it really means, then your work on representation would be in measuring that gap between what one might think of as the true meaning of an event or an object and how it is presented in the media.
In Ontario schools, this education begins as early as grade 1, where students learn about media, audience, and production, with the goal to demonstrate an understanding of the interrelationships between the form, message, and context of a text, the audience, and the creator. Critical media literacy is a vital skill in today's world, helping us reflect on media decisions and their societal impacts. With all of this in mind, I want to go back to those clips from the beginning of this video to see if you look at them any differently.
Mr. I'll make a man out of you.
But drag is about really making fun of identity. It's a lot of times, like myself, little boys who didn't fit in here, didn't fit in there, and then once we thought, I'm smart, I can figure this out, I'm gonna fit in somehow. Once I studied the way society is and how people put on these roles, I realized it was all a game. It's all an illusion. So
how bad a girl could you be? Bad. I knew it. I look fat.
No man can kill me.
I am no man.
Spanish been saying how you still got your dick. That true?
What you got between your legs is your business, and what I got is mine.
Maybe. But my man is out at Lexington, and he's having a real hard time. Hard. Meanwhile, you hiding out in here, pretending to be a female.
Get the fuck out of my house.
Not till we see it.
Jenner! Fuck you, female! It is literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Like, we have to always be extraordinary. But somehow we're always doing it wrong.
Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below sharing the first time you might have noticed that you needed to perform a certain way to portray your gender. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye!